Hey there, everybody. How are you all doing today? Well, we're over the hump and on the downswing towards the weekend, and here in the States, it's Labor Day weekend. Not that that matters a whole lot to me, but there will be college football, and that is a beautiful thing down here in the deep South. But anyhow, today I just thought we would talk about some daily mindfulness reminders and how you never know. Um, if you're like me, we read a gazillion things every day. We see photos, we read quotes, we read all this kind of stuff on the internet. And if you're anything like me, like 99.87% of it goes in one ear and out the other. Doesn't really affect me all that much. But yesterday morning, I was doing, up just kind of browsing through my phone before I got started doing what I needed to do, and I read something that slapped me in the face and got my attention like I don't think anything I've read on the internet has in years. And I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this quote to you, and I want you to really think about this and let it settle in a little bit. And maybe even like think about this later, when after this video, throughout the day, the rest of the week, over the weekend, because it's still rattling around in my head. And it just pointed back to, I just thought it pointed back to a good lesson in mindfulness, so I just thought I would tie it in here. But anyhow, at some point in your childhood, you and your friends went outside to play together for the last time and nobody knew it. That's some heavy shit right there. And then my mind, all yesterday, I was doing some work on some things, and I just kept getting distracted. My mind just kept racing, and I just kept coming up with all kind of different scenarios. I mean, think about it. Other than my parents and grandparents who, died at a timely part of their life, and they were all old, I haven't had to deal with death a lot. But I have had those relatives, and even with my mother and father, where I wasn't exactly, it was kind of expected with them, but I didn't know for sure that last time. But anyhow, people die and you never realize. You never realize that's going to be the last time that you see them. I mean, a lot of times, yeah, you do get that closure, you do get to say goodbye or whatever, but think about how many people that it's just been a shock. Or even if it's not a shock due to their age, it's still, you didn't know that last time. And like I say, I just started thinking about all the last times. I started thinking about a dear friend that I had in Costa Rica that I used to go have coffee with almost every day, or either she and I would we'd go to dinner or breakfast or lunch like 4, 5, 6 times a week, just very much part of my life. And then, I don't remember. I mean, yeah, when she was getting ready to leave Costa Rica and move back to the States, I knew she was going, but I just never really processed that last time that we went to our coffee spot was that last time. I never realized that last time that we went to this particular restaurant, that was the last time. And lots of little events like that. I traveled a lot throughout the years. I bounced around Europe, not all at one time, but like about a year here, 6 months there. So I probably did about 18 months, 2 years just bumming around. And I would come up with people and travel with people or be in a living situation with people for a while who I had just met, never knew before. But you get to know people very intensely in certain travel situations or in certain places that you live where a lot of people are constantly coming and going. And you might know people you've known for 5 years, 10 years, and you could meet somebody tomorrow that you spend a lot of time with over the course of a month or 2 months, and you know that person after a month or 2 months more than some of the people that you consider the closest people in your life. So it's just really, it just drives that lesson home to always pause. That's why I'm always talking about with my mindfulness approach and how I take it into my daily life. I feel like for me, it just slows things down. And a lot of times I'm just consciously stepping back, slowing things down and observing just so that I don't miss anything. I had started meditating back about 6 years ago. If you followed me for a while, you may remember some videos I made from the last year that I was in Costa Rica when I was house sitting up in the mountains. And it wasn't a fancy rich property, but it was a spectacular property. It had a lot of space on it. It was beautiful. I had a beautiful view. I had all kind of plants growing around the yard. I had my own butterfly farm. I had like a little hedge, and I literally had a butterfly farm for about 4 months. And when I say that, I would have like multiple type species of butterflies every day, and multiples of each one. Just like I'd see 100 butterflies a day. And I was meditating at the time. I meditated for almost the whole year I was on the mountain there, or a good part of that year. But then I dropped off and I got back, and, it's just kind of come back to me as I've been into a regular practice for well over a year now. And I just remember, and I appreciate that I did that, because when I was living on that house on the mountain, and I mean, it had $1 million view. I was in a little town. I was up above Alajuela, for anybody that knows Costa Rica. Alajuela is where the airport is, outside of the city. It's about a 25-minute ride into actually San Jose. But I saw out all over the valley. I had a 180-degree view of that valley. And that last year that I lived there, something was taking hold in my head and in my presence, because I stopped every day. I routinely stopped. I had this old beautiful dog. She was a sweetheart named Tanya with me. I took time to spend with Tanya, this dog. And I knew, even like the last 4 or 5 months I was there, I knew I'm never going to see her again. So I stopped what I was doing a lot of times. I spent time with her. I would walk by a flower, it's cliche, and people just use the quote, stop and smell the roses. There was flowers all over this property, and I would literally just stop and just look at the flower. Just look at it, and without thought, just try to observe the flower. The same thing for the view. The same thing, I'd go outside at night. I'd sit on my porch at night. It was a little breezy at night. It felt so good. I love the nights there. I don't think I've ever been in a living situation in my life where I enjoyed the night more. And as I read the quote yesterday, and I really just started spiraling, thinking about this, and I was preparing to, I wanted to talk about it and share some of this. I just really thought back to that year on the mountain. And it's like I got it up here until the dementia completely takes this old man. I've got it recorded up there. In fact, I've got more normally, with our phones and all that stuff these days, I've got way more recorded here than I have photos saved or anything like that. I do kind of regret that I didn't take more photos there, but I remember it. I remember every inch of that property. I remember the big beautiful spider that spun a web and was on our carport for like almost 2 months before a storm washed the web away. I remember 3 batches of baby birds being born, one right after the other, and watching the eggs and all that kind of stuff. I remember details. I remember where there was a bench in the garden. I remember that place. And I don't need to belabor the point, but I just really, your life will be so much richer if you're just a little bit more aware of your environment. And that's where my practice leads. And that's, we can do it every day. You don't necessarily have to sit down and have an established, meditation practice or do any, established mindfulness work, but it sure helps. And then when you do that work, you take it out of your practice and apply it in real life, and you just realize how much richer your life is. It's like all of a sudden seeing the world in Technicolor. But anyhow, just think about that one. Maybe go look that quote up so you don't have to keep playing the video over and over, and look that quote up, maybe copy it down, write it in your notes, read it a few times, and really think about it, and it'll hit you. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this little talk today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you here again in a day or so. Peace.